Anyhow, we got over the Adriatic Sea, and once we got over the Adriatic, we were up around 10,000 feet, and you'd go on oxygen, and the gunners all had to get into their turrets, and you would test fire your guns and head on up into enemy territory. First enemy territory we reached was Trieste, and there was always a few guns there shooting at you, but very little damage. And then we got up as you approached Hungary. I think it was called Lake Balaton region. The Germans had a airfield there, and there you could expect fighters to come up. But hopefully by that time our escort had reached us. And you've heard of the Tuskegee Airmen?
Yes.
That was our escort going to the target. They were good. And they would back and forth, under and over, under and over. So if there were German fighters, they got maybe one pass at us, and that was it. And we'd fly on up to the target. As you approach the target, you had something called an initial point, and that would tell you some landmark, which if you lined up on it would direct you right into the target. At that point in, the target was only maybe 15 minutes flying time away, but that's also where the enemy anti-aircraft fire started. With fighters, you could shoot back, and even though it was dangerous, you could shoot back. You were doing something. With the flak, you couldn't do anything. You put a helmet on and hold your head down. You know, on the ground you can dig a hole, a foxhole, run behind a tree. Up in the air you can't back up, you can't stop. And you knew the target you wanted is under that anti-air barrage. And so you'd fly through. And I remember the first time I saw the barrage, the target was Blackhammer. To me, from the ball turret, they looked like they were 10 feet apart. The puffs of black smoke. And I thought, how in the world? Our wingspan's 110 feet. How are we going to get through that? But you do. You get through it. I guess unless you've experienced it, you can't describe a pasting by a bunch of anti-aircraft fire. The interesting part, there's no echo up there in the rarefied air. Instead of a boom, you get blam, blam. But it's steady, staccato, just steady. And then you hope you reach over the target. Oh, by the way, once you start on your, come from the IP, the pilot gives up the piloting of the airplane to the bombardier. The Norton bomb sight was automatic, and it would take over the plane for direction. And as the bombardier aimed the bombs, the thing would guide the plane. So then, at bombs away, you had a secret word that was spoken by the colonel, by the leader of the group, as to which way you should turn. He was in touch with the fighter escort. See, the P-51s, the Tuskegee Airmen, took us up to the target. But because they were so fast and we were so slow, they had to fly a zigzag pattern, and they used up more fuel than we did. They had to return. The P-38s then would come up and pick us up coming off the target. And the colonel would know where the P-38s were going to be. By the time that, he also knew where the defenses were strongest and weakest, and he would give a code word as to go right, go left, go straight ahead after bombs away. Hey, there's Marius. So we would rally off the target and then try to reform before the fighters got up to us, because that was our most vulnerable point. You were all scattered out at that point. And once we reformed, then you would start back. And that was generally a very big rifle group. Very seldom did everybody make it over the target. And once it did, would come out maybe with one engine not turning, and you start your slow ride back. We used to call most missions an 8-hour mission, 6 hours of boredom and 2 hours of sheer terror.